All right, so I want to do a video about DC Jon Jones 3 and why this is the most important fight that could happen maybe like ever as it relates to mixed martial arts. So I want to start from a place of removing the elephant in the room, which is that the two guys hate each other. Okay, cool. They hate each other. Established. We're going to come back to that. I want to start from a place of who are these guys and what do they represent? As it relates to fighting, who are they? In my world, mixed martial arts, the UFC octagon is the ultimate definition of the choices that you've made in your life as a human being, what you were gifted with, and then what you did with those gifts. Jon Jones was given the ultimate gift. He is the most athletically talented person ever, potentially. He also is incredibly smart. So he takes the gifts he was given and he's able to translate them into lethal force. That's a gift, though. His intelligence is a gift. It's not something that he developed. He was born super smart, and he was born with incredible quick twitch muscles, the length to hit people from a mile away. You know, I mean, the guy, he is a physical and mental specimen. I would argue, as a result of that, he has never driven to see what his full potential is. And the reason for that is because his C+ work is better than everyone else in the world. What reason would he have to try to drive to what he's truly capable of? But as a result of being the best in the world while operating at C+ to maybe B level, he has been frivolous in the rest of his life. He's never had a 3-year period since he got in the octagon without some gigantic, huge thing happening outside the octagon. He's got caught for steroids. Okay, people kind of minimize that like that's no big deal. But if you're going to be called the best of all time, and you're going to dethrone a guy who 100% would be considered the best fighter of all time, DC, if it wasn't for you, that steroid pop matters. Like, that matters. And I don't hear people talk about that enough. And that actually really pisses me off because I really love Jon Jones and I really love DC. But now we're talking about the greatness of these individuals, the ultimate pinnacle of what this sport can represent. Who is the greatest ever? And it's not just like the greatest fighter. It's who's the greatest man in this paradigm that I'm talking about. And DC is that if you remove Jon Jones. And Jon Jones tested positive for steroids. That bothers me. That bothers me. Okay, I don't care about a guy popping dirty for juice. You know, you took a risk and you got caught, whatever. If you're just talking about regular fighters, I mean, maybe it bothers me, but right now, as it relates to this particular issue, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this. And over in this, that fucking matters. Now, let's go over to DC and look at DC's life, okay? Obviously, DC has a lot of physical gifts as well. Very smart as well. But he's taken what he was given and he has dedicated basically every moment of his life to being the best version of himself. That's his whole entire life, is how do I make myself the best version of myself? He's done all the right things. He has family. He's a family guy. He coaches high school wrestling at Gilroy in his spare time when he was a heavyweight champion of the world. He's a good man. And I'm not saying Jon Jones is a bad man because, look, let's be honest. I would have had a really good time hanging out with Jon Jones before I was married. Probably still, actually. He would actually not be a good friend for me to have. We would be bad influences on each other. But that's not what I'm talking about here. And I would get along with DC for sure. But when you look at their rivalry through that lens, right? You have to root for DC. You have to. You have to root for DC. You cannot root for talent over hard work. You can't. You can't do it. Unless you just do not understand what I'm talking about. Unless the way that you view the sport is who kicks the hardest and who punches the hardest. If you look at it that way, cool, Jon Jones, yeah. And I root for Jon Jones against lots of guys, not against DC. And you can't root against him against DC. Root for him against DC. So, looking at it through that lens, now let's go back to the fact that they despise each other, okay? Because now that does matter. DC wants to beat Jon Jones more than any other thing ever. Okay, he won the heavyweight championship. I promise you that mattered because it represented something Jon Jones hadn't done. Okay, I would bet my life on that. That is why that mattered so much to him. Is that Jon Jones said he wouldn't go up and fight Stipe, and DC said I'll do that, and he knocked Stipe out in the first round. That's him beating Jon Jones. And then he could say, "Why don't you come?" Actually, let me retract that. He could have said, why don't you come to heavyweight and fight me up there so we can see who the better man is when we're not cutting weight. This is just mano-y-mano, no rules. This is how I walk around at 230 pounds. You walk around 230 pounds. Now let's see what goes. Let's see what happens now. Let's see what happens when I don't dehydrate myself and I can hit just a little bit harder. And those shots that you ate at 205, maybe not so much at 230. He could have done that. He didn't do that. He said he wanted to do it at 205 because he wanted that one back. That is the one time that someone has done something like that where I disagree. Where it's like, DC, I hear you. I know you want to go back and you want to get it back under those same circumstances. What I'm saying is that you're the potential best heavyweight of all time. Make him come to you. You think that Jon Jones doesn't want that money? You think Jon Jones has that much dough? He doesn't want that money? He's going to go up there and get paid as a champion belt holder against you at heavyweight? He'll get that money. And I think DC wins. And if DC wins that fight, you take you take every moment of his life that led up to that moment, all his losses, his silver medals, all of that, where he was just second best, and then, he finally won the heavyweight championship when he beat Stipe. He defended the belt. He's a legitimate heavyweight champion. Lost to Stipe. Now they're talking about the third fight. Fuck that fight, man. Fuck that fight. If he knocks out Stipe, I don't care. I don't care at all, actually. I care zero if he knocks out Stipe. He's already knocked out Stipe. If he knocks out Jon Jones, I will cry. I'll be so fired up for him. And that'll be the end of his... That's it, man. You can't write a story like that. You cannot write a story better than DC knocking out Jon Jones and retiring. That is the book that every man on earth wishes was their life. But you know how you can't finish that story that way? Is if you don't fight Jon Jones. The only way that your story does not end the way every man on earth wishes their life ended is if you don't take that fucking fight. So, take the fight. 205, heavyweight, whatever. I would suggest heavyweight, but do it either way. But that fight has to happen. It has to fucking happen. If not for you, because of the story that I've written about your life. Anyway, if you like the content, subscribe to the channel, write a comment, ring the bell, etc., because this is how I do it.